To start off the session, we have a spotlight presentation by Mr. Manjeet Singh, Chief Executive Officer of Buddy for Study. Mr. Manjeet is a driving force behind the robust scholarship search engine that Buddy for Study is. In a career spanning over a decade, Manjeet has held prime positions across leading technology companies in India. Now he is on a mission to help and empower students facing financial challenges. He has been relentlessly working with CSR bodies in designing and managing their education-related CSR schemes, especially scholarship schemes. Buddy for Study has now facilitated over 75 crores worth of scholarship fund to more than 65 students so far. So let us start this panel session, this entire session on this note, and learn more from Manjeet about how Buddy for Study works, what scholarship as a tool can play in bettering the learning outcomes, and how he achieves these things. So may I request Mr. Manjeet Singh to please come on the stage and start off this entire plenary session with his spotlight presentation. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Bhomik. Thank you, everyone. So I will just start my presentation with a small story. And these are the stories which really motivate us as the entire organization. So she's Nandini Bharti. I mean, she's from a very small town in Tamil Nadu. And her father died when she was just finishing her 10th standard. Somehow she manages to complete her 11th and 12th. And after that, she was facing a major challenge, financial challenge, so that how can she continue her education? Somehow she got a scholarship and she was able to continue with her graduation. While in the last year of her graduation, she got a scholarship from NTU Singapore. And she wanted to basically go there, and she applied for certain loans, and she got a loan from a bank that promised her all the expenses apart from her academic, which was covered by her scholarship. She went to Singapore and later on realized that his bank has said no for the scholarship, and she has taken loan from family members. That's when we again helped her in getting a scholarship, and we assigned a mentor with Nandini. So while continuing her post-graduation, she now is working with Singapore Defense as a scientist, and now she's also pursuing her PhD in aeronautical engineering, and she wants to work with NASA, and I'm sure she will be able to do that. But if we just see the entire education industry in India, lakhs of Nandini Bharti every year are dropping out of education because of lack of finances. So what I'll do is I'll just discuss about some of the stats of the Indian education system and what are the challenges that we are facing in the education system as a whole. So overall, if we see the entire education system in India, so we have approximately 30 crore students in education, both in schools as well as colleges, private, public colleges, all. As per a study by British Council, by 2025, India will have the largest workforce in the age group of 18 and 22. And we can all imagine that is what that workforce can actually do for the nation building if we are able to put them in the right place. However, if we just take a look at the 30 crore students, out of these 30 crore students, 80% of students in India fall into the illiterate category or economically weaker section of the society. And every year, a lot of students are dropping out of their education. So the biggest challenge in front of us is if we can financial assistance to underprivileged students. That is, we have to ensure that is more and more students are able to complete their education, because without education, without proper guidance, they'll not be able to get jobs or become a part of the major workforce. Second major challenge is skilling and job support programs. Again, the students who are already passed out of primary education, who are already in graduation, so we have to find out certain programs for them so that they can become job ready and they can start earning and take out their families out of poverty. Now, I mean, with our lot of, dealing or lot of understanding with the kids, I mean, till now, like as Bhaumik mentioned, not 65. So we have already helped about 75,000 kids in last 3 years for completing their education. And with our interaction with those kids, we have realized that is one thing that student needs is money for completing their education. But the second biggest challenge that they have is in terms of career mentoring and guidance. So most of these kids who belong to low family income, so they don't have much resources, they don't have much exposure, so they don't really know what to do with their life and which direction to follow. So on the other side, if we see, employees of all the companies, so they are a knowledge powerhouse. And if these can actually help these kids in learning or mentoring them, so it actually makes a lot of difference. Just to share an example, so there is a girl, Shabnam. She was in 11th standard. She got about 72% marks, and she was a very, very brilliant kid, and she wanted to become a doctor. So what we did was we basically arranged a mentor for that kid, and all that mentor used to do was call her once in 10 days and just ask, Shabnam, padhai kaisi chal rahi hai beta? Exam aa rahe hain, are you prepared or not? If you want to become a doctor, you have to really work hard this year. And just by this simple intervention and motivation, the girl actually scored 93% marks in 12th, and she cleared AIMS. And now she's definitely going to be doing wonders. So there are so many such case studies are available where a small intervention can actually help. And when we talk about the employee volunteering and mentoring activities, it is actually beneficial for all the stakeholders in the entire ecosystem. It is beneficial for the organization, it is beneficial for the employees, as well as it is very, very beneficial for the students as well as the community as a whole. Now, another challenge that is available is skilling at the graduation level. As I was telling you, I mean, there are a lot of challenges that are available at different level, but right now I just want to focus on the major challenge which are available at graduation, because we meet a lot of parents who have actually sold their lands or who have taken loan for ensuring that their kids are completing graduation, but as soon as they get or they complete graduation, they are not job ready. So that's another major challenge for all these families. So the main three challenges that we have find out in the entire ecosystem for skilling or training at a graduation level, one is mapping of students' interests. So whenever you talk about any training program or a skilling program, what we have realized is 60% of the students in those programs are actually pushed there. I mean, it's not really as per their interest or as per their basic skill, but they are just pushed into that program. And that is the reason these students never actually are either dropping out of that program or they are not really pursuing those things as a career. So the entire ecosystem is actually facing a challenge in the skilling space. Second main thing is quality of training. Whenever you are doing training at 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 locations, you can maintain the quality of education in those skilling or training programs. But when we had to do it at a scale, so maintaining that quality is very, very challenging. And third is that is the the fixed learning path that is available. So whenever students are doing these programs, training or skilling programs, so they have to do these programs when they are doing their education. So they have to do it in parallel to the education so that they can actually become employable. So what we believe is that is a blended model is the right approach, at least for the graduation level, where the quality can be maintained, it can be scaled, and interest mapping can be done as per the student's interests, or the counseling can be done for the student, because the options are much more when we are doing it at a blended level. Just to discuss Buddy for Study, so we are India's largest student empowerment network. So we work in 3 major things. That is, one is scholarship for ensuring more and more students are able to complete their education. Second, in terms of skilling and career counseling, just to ensure that the students who are passing out of graduation, they are job ready. And third one is employee engagement and mentoring activities. So due to the shortage of time, so I'll not be able to share all the stats, but we have a stall and we have created a a full report on the education statistics of India, and you can always come to our desk and you can take a copy of it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this spotlight presentation. Let's now head to the panel, and I invite our panelists, starting with the moderator for the session, Mr. Akashs Sethi, Chief Executive Officer of Quest Alliance. Mr. Aakash has over 17 years of experience in education and youth development programs. He has served in leadership roles in organizations like ISAC, Ambuja Cement, Microsoft, and International Youth Foundation, where he designed, implemented, and monitored multi-stakeholder partnerships. Currently, he is the Executive Director of Quest Alliance that promotes the use of ICT in schools and vocational training. I request Mr. Aakash to please come on the stage and take his seat. Joining him as panelists for the session, we have Mr. Amit Goel, Head India and Southeast Asia, edX, world's largest learning platform by MIT and Harvard University. Prior to this, he used to head educational solutions for Samsung India and has launched various education mobility products. He was also the man behind launching the world's cheapest tablet PC, Aakash, a project commissioned by Government of India. We also have Mr. Shashank Pandey, President and co-founder of Convey Genius, an Edtech social enterprise driven to solve for educational equity and learning outcomes for children and youth in India. Convey Genius is currently working with more than 50 partners, including government, CSRs, and NGOs to impact more than 2 lakh learners enrolled in government school, budget private schools, and after-school learning centers across 16 states in India. I request Mr. Shashank to please come on the stage. We also have Mr. Abhishek Ranjan, Associate Director and Global Head, Sustainability, CSR, and Employee Outreach for Brilio. He has over 12 plus years of corporate and development sector experience. He is currently leading corporate sustainability and responsibility at Brilio Technologies with a vision to help more than 100,000 underprivileged young minds through STEM education. He started the CSR programs in India and America, and Brilio Technologies received some of the top social impact honors, including Microsoft Youth Spark Partner of the Year 2017 at Washington, D.C., and Bronze Stevie Award for CSR at American Business Awards in 2017. We also have Mr. Lalitendra Bhartiya, Operations Lead of Shiv Nadar Foundation. Before this, he has worked in various organizations like TERI, Literacy India, Dr. Reddy's Foundation, and Aakash Foundation. So I now hand over the stage to our panelists for the panel session on Edtech for Good, leveraging technologies for better learning outcomes.
Thank you. And welcome everyone to this conversation. I think first I must apologize that this is not a panel but a manel, and I believe that the key issue of India is gender inclusion, and I had requested this to the organizers as well, but we'll try and bring out our feminine sides as well in this conversation as we go along. And I think just to kind of lay the context, adaptability. How do we really adapt to the changing environment? And adaptability is hard, change is hard, and the conversation of education technology needs to be rooted in the idea of how do we really bring change and mindsets, and really root the conversation in what are the educational challenges we are facing today. And some of the conversation that happened before this panel around high school dropout rates, teacher professional development, administration, data management, to maybe personalization are all opportunities for technology to really play a role. But I think the core framing is, are we thinking about educational problems and how can technology really solve for that? And it is only a tool and not necessarily the solution. So, as young people are growing up in this age, we want, our vision for the learner is for them to have a thriving life, right? And a thriving life is not about only learning outcomes, right? Thriving life is about the whole individual, is about relationships, is about how do I really think and make decisions for myself. Thriving life is to be able to build a community and contribute to being a good citizen. So I want to really expand this conversation and not sort of feel limited to this idea of learning outcomes, because I feel that for learning outcomes to happen, you need a safe space, you need a safety net to try, to fail, to try again. And learning can only be achieved if you are learning without fear and not learning because I have to pass an exam. That's not what the future of work is going to be about. Future of work is going to be about a lot more thinking on your feet, learning new skills, changing your mindset. And that's really what technology provides an opportunity for. So I want us to broaden this conversation, right, and not stay limited to that. But before we get into this conversation, I wanted to actually have this conversation with you and really ask really two things. One is, of course, who is in the room? So would love to know, how many NGOs here using technology or wanting to use technology in your work. So if you can, put your hands up. Okay, so that's about 35–40% are nonprofits here. How many corporates here who are investing in technology-based solutions or are interested in investing in technology-based solutions? Okay, so about 15% or 20% people in the room. Great. So uh, the other question I have is, not a question actually, I want to know what are your questions when it comes to technology and education, so that we can start with what your questions are and hopefully through the conversation try and touch upon those questions as opposed to come at you at the end. It's also kind of being a demonstration of learner centricity, that we start with questions of who wants to learn. So I'd love to get your questions first so that the panel can also kind of think about these questions. So if there are mics in the room and if there are questions, then I'd love to hear a few to start us off. Yes, gentleman at the back.
Hi, my name is Rohit from iDream Education. What I have observed is that the biggest challenge that technology has faced in government school is regular non-usage.
Little closer to the mic.
What I've observed is the biggest challenge which technology has faced in government schools is regular non-usage. So technology enters but is not used regularly, and hence we're not able to leverage the impact that we hope that it would achieve. So we'd love to understand experiences, models that you guys have adopted to ensure that technology is used regularly inside the government schools.
Okay. So usage, uptake, and using it for its purpose. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Maharajan. I'm from an NGO which is called Piramal Foundation. Yes, a single technology cannot solve many problems. We have many problems. And one of the major problem is we used to find something in this kind of forums, what technologies are available. Rather, I would like to see a common platform or some central space where what are all the products available and what it solves. So that will help us, because the problem never arises when we are in conferences. We are in the field, it arises.
So your question is more about confused that there are so many products. How do we go find something that fits our needs or some place to aggregate? So it's more a suggestion.
Yes, I would like to see some place. Do we have any place? We have to think about
Sure.
it now. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir, at the back.
To a layman, be it in government or be it in a private schooling space, technology is always associated with something which is costly, something which is high investment. So is there something which you're looking at, making it really accessible for everyone?
Okay, so the cost issue of really adoption and so on. We have the lady in the front, Sujata, I think.
Yeah, my name is Sujata. My question is related to two parts question. One is, are there any published studies on how technology has helped in increased learning outcomes, specifically in the Indian context? It's been used outside, it's comparatively new here. Number two, speaking on something the other gentleman said, that technology is expensive and hard to reach, specifically in remote rural areas. So there's very little focus on remote rural areas which have absolutely no infrastructure to support it. So what's being done in that regard as well? Thanks.
Okay. Lady at the back, and then I'll come. Last two. Yeah, that one, right here. Right here. Okay. Sorry. I'll come back to you, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Two quick questions. I completely agree with you. Education is not only about learning outcomes, and we have to talk about the whole individual and the skills. So, but my belief is that the curriculum or the way that we are bringing the children up, I mean, we believe that education is beyond learning outcomes, but does the curriculum also appreciate, and does that include, and if not, then what as we, the civil society and the the corporate world, can do about it? One.
Okay.
Second,
Can I limit it to one? Can I limit it to one? Come back to you. Okay, I think we have quite a lot of questions around cost, around adoption, around evidence, around curriculum, around integration of these 21st century skills with content as well. That's how I'd interpret your question. And I think we will try to sort of weave these points into the way we kind of respond as to how do we think about these issues. I think two things that I can say to just start us off, that one is that it's the learner and the teacher that's the innovator. It's not the technology that's the innovator. So if we change our way of thinking about technology from the fact that it's really empowering the people and not necessarily controlling. So that's one point of view. And the other is really around how do we really make it relevant to the context, right? So design for context. So keeping that in mind, I think we will get us started with Amit, who can probably get us, or maybe we'll start with Shashank because he works in kind of the school space and get us started there. Do you want to start, Shashank? In terms of, I think one key point is really focus on the journey as to how did you make technology work for your context, and what are the failures, what are the challenges that you had, and not necessarily you didn't succeed in your first go. So we want to hear about how did you make it work, but focus on the failures.
Yeah, so my name is Shashank Pandey. I'm the co-founder of Convey Genius. So I think, for those of you who don't know about Convey Genius, we work as a very passionate Edtech knowledge partner. And in our journey of last 6 years, we have worked with very, very amazing NGOs, CSRs, governments, and impact investors like MSDF to bridge the learning and skill gaps at the bottom of the pyramid. Through these partnerships, we have been able to touch the lives of more than 3 lakh children across 16 states in the country. So when we say we are impacting 3 lakh children, so impact in education, I mean, since we are in K-12, so most of my dialogue would be around K-12. So impact in K-12, we measure and report through largely 2 ways. One is change in learning levels of children. And for those of you who are in this space would understand, typically in our settings, in a government school setting or in an affordable private school setting, the children are 2-3 years below the grade level. We call them remedial children. So what we monitor and report to our partners is how the learning levels change. Like how a student moves from a remedial stage to an intermediate stage to an advanced stage. That's number one that we use to measure impact. The second is obviously the absolute change in learning outcomes. And there are scientific ways to do it. We report that through our dashboards, and also there have been third-party studies who have validated this to some extent. So I think before I go into the problems and how we calibrated, innovated in our journey of 6 years with multiple partners, I would like to quickly show you a quick video to give you more context on how we are changing the classrooms into learning rooms. I think that was the context set by the host of the session. Can we quickly play the video, please? Where is it playing?
Education as a discipline should evolve with the needs of the society.
It's just playing here.
Okay. So in the spirit of fighting this technology and time issue, I'll request that, if you can... Okay.
No, it's a video, not a presentation.
Go ahead.
Education as a discipline should evolve with the needs of the society. And in some sense, it really has. Today, the focus of education is to develop skills, attitudes, and behaviors that translate to success in an increasingly connected digital world. This quest has led us onto the path of social, scalable, and affordable innovation for all those children who need us the most.
We work with some of the best content creators, child psychologists, data scientists, and tech experts to intelligently and uniquely map learning content for every child, real time. So it's like having a personal tutor for every child at every point. We not only track learning, but also every decision made by the child, motivation levels, and several other behavioral aspects that help us nudge the child in the right direction. We believe the classroom teacher is the cornerstone of a student's success, and hence we take it on ourselves to provide all-round support to this key stakeholder in improving student learning outcomes.
For example, if a student has struggled in a similar kind of question multiple times, we would nudge the teacher to intervene and help the student understand the misconception. Or, if there is a group of students in a classroom who need extra help, we would nudge the teacher and suggest what to do, when to do, and how to do. These data-backed nudges reduce the teacher's classroom load by 60%, giving them more time to focus on maintaining a healthy environment for learning. Simply put, Convey Genius is reimagining the educational fabric of India, one classroom at a time. And we sincerely hope to reach your classrooms very soon. Thank you. So I think this was just to add more context to how we change classroom into learning rooms, how we bring in the right product, which is very India-centric, how we empower teachers to do more with children.
Sorry, Shashank, can you focus on the cost, evidence, adoption issues? Just to...
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think, so in terms of the cost, I mean, our cost is, 60 rupees per month per child. And that's, I would believe that that's very affordable. And the reason for that affordable costing structure is, again, the partnership structure. As a technology, what we have done is we have partnered with more than 40 content creators in India. And as a technology, we try to personalize that content delivery to every child. And we also recommend the right content to the teacher as well. So that helps us to keep the costs low, because we're not reinventing the wheel, we are not creating content like most of the education solutions do. The other
challenges in adoption?
Sure. The biggest challenge that we have seen in our 6 years of journey is the inconsistency in teaching quality. Obviously you can have a great product, but you need the change maker in the classroom to really implement it. So I'll give you an example. We work with a pan-India program called Nandinis, and there are 2,500 centers, empowered with our solution. And the teacher in the center is typically a 12th class and sometimes even a graduate. So how do you make a teacher like that, who is not a subject matter expert, but a facilitator, to use technology to improve outcomes, right? So a technology is a great enabler there. It empowers the teacher, it gives the teacher to have a bird's eye view of the whole classroom and intervene when she is really required. So the role of a teacher has been changed from a subject matter expert to a facilitator. So this is one example I wanted to quote, because a technology running in 2,500 centers with such teachers is no small feat. I mean, this gives us a lot of hope that EdTech can solve the problem of learning, even if the teaching quality is inconsistent. That's one of the other challenges. But I'll talk more about it in the later part of the session.
Okay, thank you. So sorry? Okay, go ahead.
So thank you for setting up the context, Akash, and that was a great video. You mentioned some keywords like thriving, and I heard some other problems. So very quickly, I feel that I have had a thriving career. I've done what I wanted to do, what I've been personally interested in. My family runs a school, and ever since beginning, I've seen the challenges at the grassroots level. The school that we have is in a small village about 200 kilometers from Delhi. So what I saw while growing up is the major digital divide that we have in India. There has been a study that says the farther you go from a metro city, the quality of education deteriorates. And we have actually seen that in the rural cities of India. The facilities that our kids get in metro cities, there is no calm of such facilities in villages and tier 2 and tier 3 areas. So some of the projects that I've been associated with was one laptop per child initiative for India. It was running successfully in Europe. And when Indian government thought of it, I was lucky enough to head that project. So we launched the cheapest tablet PC of the world, Aakash. That tablet was made available to Indian students at a cost of 1,500 rupees. The government's narrative of keeping that cost, because the cost of stationery for a student every year is about 750 to 800 rupees. So we can give them a tablet that includes all the stationery requirement for 2 years. That should do. Somehow we were able to launch the tablet, sold a few million units, but it wasn't really able to solve the purpose. We were able to give accessibility to the students. We were able to give it in the hands of underprivileged. Various nations, various states, they adopted it, but the quality was somehow substandard because the focus was entirely on bringing down the cost. While doing so, we actually skewed away from the whole purpose of making something usable for 2 years. After that,
Can you tell us why did that not work? Was it the
because
cost
we
issue? Was it
compromised with the
content
quality.
issue?
Yeah, because the focus was entirely on the cost. India wanted to make the cheapest tablet PC of the world. The tender was rolled out to most of the major IT companies or the hardware companies like HPs and Microsofts and IBM, but nobody actually came forward. Then there was
So the learning is it's not always about reducing cost.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
What we also realized is you can go to schools, you could give them tablets, you could give them digital content, but you also have to work very closely with the teachers. Because when you're actually dealing with a teacher, rather than becoming an influencer, she actually becomes a deterrent, to spread your objectives. Because teachers nowadays are they're very scared of technology. They say a teacher is, they feel that technology is going to replace them. And we feel that if a teacher can be replaced by a machine, he or she should be. They shouldn't be doing that job. So moving forward, when we talked about technology, we launched various innovative solutions while I used to head education at Samsung. The Baiju technology that you see today, that solved last mile issues, connectivity, and other stuff. But later, the main problem was, and which is the most thriving problem that you see today. You open any news channel and they say unemployment has been at its peak in the last many years. The quality of education that we get in Indian campuses, 80 to 90% of engineering graduates are non-employable. Everyone wants to send their kids to IITs and IIMs, not because they love the education there, not because they're going to have a great life there, but because this is going to give them certain assurance. The problem is, when I talk about such colleges, less than 1% of the students are able to get access to such high quality education. And this actually spoils the whole fundamental vision of education. It should be democratized. It should be like oxygen. Someone who wants access to high quality education should be able to get it. With that vision in mind, I have been working with MIT for the last 4 years. What MIT has done, and this will actually address some of the keywords that have been highlighted. What MIT and Harvard have done about 7 years ago, they have launched a portal called edx.org, edX, which is the world's largest e-learning platform. What that platform does is, it has 140 members, which are the top ranking universities of the world. Oxford, Berkeley, Columbia, all the Ivy League universities are there. From India, IITs, IIMs are there. The beauty of the platform is, students who are in any class working professionals, higher secondary students, university students, anyone can go to the platform, select whatever they are interested in. You want to learn about CSR, you want to learn about economic prosperity, you want to learn about AI, ML, blockchain, any cutting edge technology, or as basic as the science of happiness, teaching, all these basic stuff or very advanced courses are available. There are 2,700 plus courses. We talked about cost. What's unique about this model is the cost is extremely high. Can you imagine what would be the cost of learning on the platform? It's zero. What's unique on this model is the learning from all of these top universities of the world. Just go to the platform, select a course of your choice, start learning absolutely free. So tomorrow your kids would not be able to tell you, because I was not able to crack a stupid exam, I could not get a taste of education at IITs or IIMs or Oxford or a Berkeley.
What are the challenges in this model? Because I know that completion
challenges
rates are
is about-
really
yeah,
low, the motivation to learn is low.
Correct.
So I'm sure there are challenges in
It's about the
adoption.
ecosystem, and
Yeah.
actually online education carries a stigma to it. So
Yeah.
people say, "ठीक है, online education है," but relevance क्या है, right? What is the recognition of it? If I take my online education certificate to a university, will I get any credits for it? If I take it to an employer, will I get any credits for it? Will I get any recognition for it? So this is what we have been able to solve in the last 3 years. What I personally feel, this is my personal opinion, is colleges should be looking at themselves into the business of employability, not just into training and teaching. So what we have done, especially in our case, how we are able to solve these problems is, you take courses on edX. For example, someone wants to do a master's degree at MIT. You can go online, take a course, while the learning is absolutely free. If you go onto a certificate track, complete the course online, and then apply to their master's degree. What you study online will count towards 25% to 50% of your degree. Imagine if you're a student, you're a working professional, today if you want to get a degree, you have to get admission into it. While getting admission into it, then only you realize, was it a right fit for you or not? On this platform, you can actually get credits for whatever you studied online.
Okay.
I'll take it a step forward.
Sorry, can I stop you there, come back to you in a bit? I think
I'll just very quickly wrap this one.
Okay.
The last is about the, the professional recognition, the courses that you get on the platform. There are companies like Mahindra and GE who have gone forward and say, anyone in India who completes certain courses on edX will get a guaranteed interview opportunity. See, this is the kind of placement assurance that they get, which they're not even able to get from top universities here. So I'll pass on to it.
Sure. So I think you spoke about the idea of recognition and motivation as two possibly biggest challenges when it comes to an online learning, and that is something that we need to think about as we look at, promoting the idea of MOOCs and so on. So that's something which I think the group needs to also, think about when we think about self-learning or technology-based learning, etc., etc. Maybe we'll come to now a more school context, which is an early stage context, and how technologies are being used there to learn basic skills and basic literacy. So I'll request Lalit, who's from Shiv Nadar Foundation, to share their journey around how are you really looking at a context like a rural India and using technology there, and what is the real value that technology is creating for you, and what is the problem you're trying to solve with it?
So, thank you, Akash. Let me start with the Shiv Nadar Foundation's. Am I allowed to speak in Hindi?
Yes, please.
दिल के और दिमाग के करीब है तो सोचा हिंदी में बात करते हैं. So basically शिव नादर फाउंडेशन ओवरऑल अगर हम देखेंगे तो इसके अंदर हमारे डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं. अभी हमारे पैनलिस्ट ने हायर स्टडीज़ के लिए बात की है, तो हमारे पास शिव नादर यूनिवर्सिटी है, SSN कॉलेज ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग है, वी हैव विद्या ज्ञान लीडरशिप एकेडमी एज वेल. आर्ट को प्रमोट करने के लिए किरण नादर म्यूजियम ऑफ आर्ट वी हैव. अभी मैं जो बात करना चाह रहा हूँ वो, जैसा कि आकाश ने बोला कि रूरल इंडिया के लिए उन स्कूल्स के लिए, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के लिए शिव नादर फाउंडेशन क्या कर रही है. तो वी हैव वन प्रोजेक्ट नेम्ड शिक्षा इनिशिएटिव. शिक्षा इनिशिएटिव के अंदर हम लोग गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स, जो उत्तर प्रदेश के गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स हैं, उस उत्तर प्रदेश के गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के अंदर क्लासरूम, विद इन द क्लासरूम जो डिलीवरी मोड है, जो चॉक एंड टॉक सिस्टम है, हमारा ट्रेडिशनल सिस्टम है, उसके अंदर हमने टेक्नोलॉजी इंट्रोड्यूस किया है. तो उसके लिए हम क्या करते हैं कि हमने ये कहा, और मैं जब ये बात करूंगा तो मैं ये ध्यान रखूंगा कि हमारे जो क्वेश्चंस आपसे आए हैं, जो कॉस्ट पे है, जो एक्सेसिबल होने की बात है और जो एक्सेप्टेंस पे भी बात है, तो मैं उसको भी इसमें ऐड करते हुए बात करना चाहूँगा कि जब हम स्कूल्स को अप्रोच करते हैं तो स्कूल्स में क्या होता है, टीचर्स को ये लगता है जनरली उनके पास ये रहता है कि यार एक और एक्स्ट्रा काम आ गया। तो हमने क्या किया, हमने वहाँ से शुरू किया कि हम जो टीचर्स कर रहे हैं, जो डे टू डे लाइफ में उनको आके स्कूल में पढ़ाना है, उसके अंदर टेक्नोलॉजी किस तरीके से उनके लाइफ को ईजी बना सकती है, हम ऐसा क्या उनको दें ताकि उनको वही काम जो वो रोज़ कर रहे हैं वो एक आसानी उनको मिले और वो आसानी से कर पाएँ। तो हमने SCRT जो गवर्नमेंट, उत्तर प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट की जो किताब है, ग्रेड 1 और ग्रेड 2 की बात हम कर रहे हैं, प्राइमरी एजुकेशन की बात कर रहे हैं, तो हमने उस ग्रेड 1 और ग्रेड 2 की किताब को ही हमने डिजिटल बनाया और उस कंप्लीट कोर्स को, उसके अंदर में हमने कुछ किसी एक चैप्टर का या किसी एक लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव को ध्यान में रख के इस तरह से नहीं बनाया, पूरा का पूरा करिकुलम जो पाठ्यक्रम है उनका, उसको हमने डिजिटल बनाया। और जब हम डिजिटल बनाने की बात कर रहे हैं, डिजिटल फॉर्म में उसको परिणत करने की बात कर रहे हैं, तो वहाँ हमने ये ध्यान रखा कि वो वर्बिटम सिर्फ उस चैप्टर का ट्रांसलेशन नहीं हो डिजिटल फॉर्म में, बल्कि उसके अंदर हम किस तरीके से उसको इंटरेक्टिव बनाएं, किस तरीके से बच्चों का इंटरेस्ट उसके अंदर क्रिएट हो, किस तरीके से सिर्फ जैसे आकाश जी कह रहे थे कि लर्निंग आउटकम का मतलब क्या है, तो वो जो ब्रॉडर पिक्चर उसका है, तो उस लर्निंग आउटकम के साथ जब ग्रेड 1 और ग्रेड 2 का बच्चा स्कूल में आके पढ़ता है तो उसके बिहेवियरल चेंजेस क्या हो सकते हैं, उसके हेल्थ एंड हाइजीन के लिए हम उसको क्या पढ़ा सकते हैं। ऑल्दो वो सारी चीज़ें मे बी उस कोर्स में जो ग्रेड 1 और ग्रेड 2 में सिर्फ 3 किताबें हैं, कलरव 1, कलरव 2 एंड गिनतारा, तो इस 3 किताब को ही अगर आप देखेंगे तो उसमें ये सारी चीज़ें मे बी उस एक डिटेल में उनके पास वो उसके लिए चैप्टर्स अवेलेबल नहीं है। बट हमने उसमें NCERT के प्रोफेसर्स का और हमारे स्कूल के, गवर्नमेंट के टीचर्स का और हमारी एकेडमिक टीम जो उस पर काम करती है, उन सब का इनपुट लेके, उनका फीडबैक लेके एक प्रॉपर साइकिल बना के हमने सिर्फ 4 स्कूल्स के अंदर इस काम को गौतम बुद्ध नगर में गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स में शुरू किया और पैरेलली हमने कंटेंट को डिजिटल बनाने का काम भी चलाया। 4 स्कूल से वो जर्नी बढ़ते बढ़ते अलग अलग तरह के फीडबैक्स चाहिए होते हैं। कई बार क्या होता है, एब्सेंटिज्म हमारे यहाँ जो ड्रॉप आउट की हम बात करते हैं, एब्सेंटिज्म भी एक लेवल पे बहुत बड़ा इशू है। जो बच्चे जिनका फीडबैक लेना चाहते हो, पता चला आप आज एक चैप्टर का फीडबैक लेके आए, दूसरे चैप्टर में वो बच्चा अवेलेबल ही नहीं है, वो बच्चा स्कूल ही नहीं आया। तो हम उसको एड्रेस करने के लिए हमने कुछ प्राइवेट स्कूल्स भी लिए, फिर स्कूल्स के ज्योग्राफी को भी चेंज किया कि सेमी अर्बन टाइप स्कूल्स भी होना चाहिए, रूरल में होना चाहिए, रूरल में भी डिफरेंट सिनेरियो हैं। उस तरह के स्कूल्स को करते करते हमने उस जर्नी को 4 स्कूल से 40 स्कूल तक लेके गए, जहाँ हमने अपने टीचर्स भी दिए ताकि उनसे रेगुलर फीडबैक हमें मिलता रहे।
चैलेंजेस क्या है?
चैलेंज इन टर्म्स ऑफ, मैं चैलेंज पे आने से पहले मैं इसके स्केल के मॉडल पे एक बार वहाँ तक पहुँच के फिर मैं चैलेंज पे आता हूँ। तो हमने उस कंटेंट को इस पैरेलली डेवलप किया और इसमें हमें जितना समय लगा, फिर हमने ये कहा कि जब ये कंटेंट बन गया तो क्या ये वर्क करता है कि नहीं, क्या इससे कुछ वैल्यू ऐड हो रहा है कि नहीं कम्युनिटी के अंदर। स्कूल्स के अंदर हम बच्चों को टीचिंग, क्वेरिंग और ऑगमेंटेशन, ये पूरा एक साइकिल है हमारा। तो टीचिंग जब हम कराएं इस कंटेंट के थ्रू, जब हमने सिस्टम को चेंज किया उसके थ्रू हम अगर कराते हैं तो क्या वैल्यू ऐड हो रहा है कि नहीं। तो हमने लखनऊ के पास एक पूरा ब्लॉक है, जिसके ब्लॉक में ऑलमोस्ट 200 स्कूल हैं, हमने सारे के सारे स्कूल्स को अपने अंडर लिया और उसमें हमने कंटेंट भी दिया, हमने IT इक्विपमेंट्स उसको चलाने के लिए जो चाहिए वो सारी चीज़ें दी, फिर उस पर एक थर्ड पार्टी इवैल्यूएशन भी हुआ, उसको स्टडी कराया। तो फिर ये पाया कि ना सिर्फ असेसमेंट में नंबर्स की बात हम कर रहे थे जहाँ बच्चों ने अचीव किया, बल्कि बिहेवियरल चेंज भी आया उसके अंदर। बेसिकली क्वांटिटेटिव और क्वालिटेटिव, ये दोनों ही चीज़ें बच्चों के अंदर में देखने को मिला जहाँ पे हमने इस प्रोग्राम को चलाया। तो अब ये आया कि अब हमने शुरू से कहा कि ये स्केल करना है, इसको रिप्लिकेट करना है और स्केल करना है। क्योंकि हमने पहले ही उत्तर प्रदेश के गवर्नमेंट के ही पूरे प्रोग्राम को ICT इनेबल्ड किया है, तो हमारे पास जब इस पूरे जर्नी के अंदर में डिफरेंट डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट्स, डिफरेंट पदाधिकारी जो जिला शिक्षा अधीक्षक वगैरह होते हैं, उनके संपर्क में आए, उन्होंने कार्यक्रम देखा, उसके रिजल्ट्स देखे, तो उन्होंने उसको अपने लेवल पे अडॉप्ट करना शुरू किया। तो अभी हमारे पास श्रावस्ती, सोनभद्र और इटावा ऐसे डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं जहाँ डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट ने अपने फंड से, अपने गवर्नमेंट के फंड से, उन्होंने स्कूल्स के अंदर में हमें इस कंटेंट को चलाने के लिए जो IT पेरिफेरल्स, IT इक्विपमेंट्स चाहिए, जो लैपटॉप और प्रोजेक्टर है बेसिकली एंड विद स्पीकर्स, वो उन्होंने गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से हमें मिला और हमने कंटेंट दिया और टीचर्स को ट्रेनिंग दी। टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग हुआ, कंटेंट हमने दिया और वो सारे इन जिलों में चल रहे हैं और ग्रेजुअली हम लोग और जिलों के अंदर में जा रहे हैं। अब चैलेंज की बात कर रहे हैं, जो चैलेंज हमें चैलेंज क्या आया, तो हमने शुरुआत में जब इस चीज़ को लेके हम स्कूल्स के अंदर जा रहे थे, तो मैंने जैसे अभी मेंशन भी किया कि जब आप स्कूल में जाते हो तो टीचर्स को ये लगता है कि हमको एक नई चीज़ फिर से करनी हो गई। उनके रूटीन में उनके पास इतना काम है, पढ़ाने के अलावा भी गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के अंदर और भी कई सारे काम होते हैं, तो उनको लगा कि ये हमें क्यों लेके आना भी चाहिए, हमारे लिए एक्स्ट्रा काम हमें करना भी चाहिए। तो हमने उनके साथ ट्रेनिंग में एक पार्ट रखा, हमारी काउंसलिंग भी, हमने उनको बताया, इनफैक्ट ट्रेनिंग के अंदर वो इनबिल्ट है कि आपको वही काम करना है। आप जितने 3 घंटे की एनर्जी आप उसके अंदर लगा रहे हैं, आपको वही एनर्जी उससे कम समय में आपको ज़्यादा रिजल्ट प्रोड्यूस करके देगा, और इससे यूनिफॉर्मिटी भी आएगी। आप अगर देखें तो आईसीटी इनेबल्ड करने का सबसे बड़ा जो बेनिफिट है वो ये है कि आपके जितने स्कूल्स में भी चल रहा है वो कंटेंट आपको यूनिफॉर्मिटी देता है। वो बच्चा एक लेवल पे सेम डिलीवरी उसके लिए हो रही है, भले उस दिन टीचर की तबीयत खराब हो रही हो, भले उस दिन टीचर का मन नहीं हो पढ़ाने का, लेकिन बावजूद उसके एक लेवल पे वो एक यूनिफॉर्म डिलीवरी उस बच्चे को मिलता है और टीचर को आसानी होती है। इसमें जो चैलेंज ये आया, एक ये भी आया कि क्या ये हमें रिप्लेस कर देगा। आप जब आईसीटी बेस्ड क्लासरूम बना दोगे तो हमारी ज़रूरत क्या है, फिर हमारी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी का क्या होगा। तो आप हमारे पूरे कंटेंट को अगर देखें, मैं उसके डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा, मैं एक ग्लिम्स देना चाहता हूं कि हमने उसको इस तरह से डेवलप किया है, बिकॉज वी आर वेरी मच रिलेटेड टू HCL जो कि IT कंपनी है। तो उसके अंदर हमने इन चीज़ों का समावेश किया है कि टीचर एक नगेट जब चलेगा, 3 या 4 मिनट का एक नगेट होगा, तो उसके बाद टीचर का होना उस क्लासरूम के अंदर आवश्यक है, बिकॉज वहाँ वो अपने आप स्टॉप होगा, वहाँ जारी रखने का बटन होगा, वहाँ इंटरैक्ट करने के लिए बच्चों के साथ हमने ऑप्शन दिया है, ताकि टीचर्स को ये ऑनरशिप फील हो कि ये मैं जो कर रहा हूँ वो यहाँ पे टेक्नोलॉजी मेरे को एज ए TLM, एज ए टीचिंग लर्निंग मटेरियल मेरे को सपोर्ट कर रहा है, रैदर मेरे को रिप्लेस कर रहा है। तो यहाँ से एक चैलेंज हमने ओवरकम करने की कोशिश की। एक सिक्योरिटी के लेवल का चैलेंज है जो हम लोग देख रहे हैं, जब आप एक लैपटॉप और प्रोजेक्टर भी अगर क्लासरूम के अंदर देते हैं। मैं इसमें एक चीज़ और ऐड करूंगा कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का इशू है, तो बच्चों को इसका नुकसान नहीं हो, इसको इंश्योर करने के लिए हमने बैटरी और इन्वर्टर का भी प्रावधान रखा है कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं है तो बच्चे को क्लास का टाइम तो मिलेगा नहीं, तो उसको इंश्योर करने के लिए जहाँ जहाँ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी नहीं है उस बच्चे को नुकसान नहीं हो, ये भी ऐड किया हुआ है। तो अब उसमें ये सिक्योरिटी का एक इशू आता है कि कहीं पे चोरी का होता है, लेकिन अवेयरनेस होने के बाद टीचर्स चूंकि उस कम्युनिटी में काम करते हैं, बच्चे उसी कम्युनिटी से आते हैं, तो उन चीज़ों का अगर आप देखेंगे, उनके साथ में हमारा PTM में हम लोगों का पार्टिसिपेशन होता है, तो वो भी बहुत ही ज़्यादा नहीं है, बट यस एक लेवल पर वो एक चैलेंज तो ज़रूर है।
Okay, thank you. I think 3-4 key points from this experience. One is definitely the curriculum has to be mapped to the overall learning textbooks and what needs to be taught. It's not something extra for the teacher. That is one point that, from a design stage you are keeping in mind. The second is the teacher's participation in the planning process when it comes to delivering it in the classroom. It does not mean, in the idea of take this and deliver it, but teachers need to be involved in the process of how they want to use this learning material and not necessarily, just say that show this video. So I think the independence to design their classroom, think about the pause that they need to take when the technology is being used is critical for the ownership to build. It's not about just showing a video. It's about what do you do after the video. It's about what do you do to reflect on what you are learning. So I think that's one key point I am taking away. And the final piece is the community aware? Is the community involved? Is the community monitoring or getting this idea that, technology is there and they are actively involved in monitoring that? I think that's another key lesson, because it's not just in isolation of the larger ecosystem that this can work. Right?
Very
so
true,
just wanted to summarize that for the audience. Abhishek, do you want to I think one thing we haven't really spoken about is evidence. And is there evidence out there or from your work that you feel, why should we invest in technology? Does it really work? Does it really distract us from the core learning objectives of the classroom? Does it, create more chaos than really answer some of the core questions? So is there evidence that this is working from your work? Or from what you are seeing in the ecosystem? I think that will be useful if you can center it around that.
Yeah, thanks, Aakash. Recently we were having deliberations in our internal organization about the hiring, that what kind of people we should hire. And why I'm saying that is a future skill we all will be looking at. And there was a good debate happened internally about the Should we hire people from left brain oriented or right brain oriented, or probably get a mix of it, right? Because if you look at the current education in our country, and I think we all have studied in the same mode, it's very left brain oriented, where there's a very less room for you to kind of experiment, learn. And that's not the way the digital work. That's not the way the technology, the new ways work. I think the question to Aakash, the answer to Aakash is that how much digital, how much technology, I think those kind of arguments have already kind of been left long time back, because there's no choice for you of not being digital as an individual, as a future citizen, right? Now, the way we thought that, how a technology company like us, which is 5 years in existence, will try to do what we can do for the children, especially in the government school. We believe that, the theory of do, say, do. So how we teach children normally in the school, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? But we say, do, you do it, say to us, again do it. So I think there is a lot of room for you to kind of being creative. There was a question about the cost. I think if digital cannot bring the cost down and make it more scalable, for me it's not a digital. Because the whole fundamental of digital is about how democratize the whole thing, and at the lower cost. I think you gave an example of how edX is doing it. Now, if you look at the children at a different level, children at primary school, then middle school and the higher children, I think the path to become Eklavyas, what is your model is, where they start doing self-learning, it does not come so easy for primary school children or secondary school, middle school children. It takes time. We have Khan Academy, we have Google, Bolo, and so many things, but I think it doesn't. I think the fundamental, I will be very candid here. You may like it or not, but I think our whole perception about technology adoption in schools is all about infrastructure. That's how we look at the CapEx part of it. I think very few companies I have seen who actually invest a lot in the OpEx and the sustainability of that project, right? You may agree, disagree, but that's how my experience has been, that we never think that how this will sustain. Also, there is a lot said about the teachers, right? How do we win their hearts for technology? It takes time. It takes time for them to kind of, we work with 140 government schools now, and it really takes time, and you have to be patient about it. But when it works, I think it works wonders. And without them, you can never, achieve what you want to achieve. And I still believe in the old school where, and that's what, Melinda Gates said once, that in a school, all you need is a teacher and a student. And if this is not there, everything else is, for me, is like, So I think many times we get very, very interested about having a fancier class, or, the best of the best tech gadgets. But if you actually go and look at the uses, it's really sad. Now look at the challenges and how do we mitigate those challenges. So the first learning was, we learned, don't invest too much in CapEx, invest more in OpEx. That was my first learning. The second learning was that, how do you do the stakeholder engagement? That's the biggest problem, because we tend to decide what is required for that particular school. Oh, tablet is great, let's give tablet or whatever XYZ. So we always go to the first level of the bureaucracy, which is the block education officer, and then start working with him to the principals and all, and try to understand which school would need what and what is the technology. Now, each school, so you'll have a different types of government school teacher, but you'll have one bright guy or two bright teacher in every school who is really digitally literate or educated in technology. Pick up those guys, made your champions in the schools. I think that's how we have been successful in some of our initiative. And always don't make your teachers of government school feel that you are something who knows everything and they don't know anything. I think that approach, mindset, we should never go to the school. Be their help, be there, So I remember, one of the school in Bangalore we're teaching. For last 1 year, the principal never come to the school, to our teaching classes. And recently, the government has mandated everything to be updated on computer. She said, can I also join this tech classes? So it takes time. Sometimes you have to be patient. to buy this, their whole thing, right? Because, and also the school, right? There's a challenge at school level also. Moment when they see a corporate like us, they say, "Aap ye kar do, aap wo kar do, aap and then, you give some one technology, the other company which comes with a more fancier technology, and they said, uske school mein to ye hai, hamare school mein kyun nahi hai? So, the whole thing is about like having the best smartphone or best technology gadgets, but you don't using it for the people who needs it. Very funny thing happened recently when we were working with Byju, so we recently collaborated with them, and the first project we launched a month back. I'll just wrap up. And moment we talked about the students to give them the tablets, the teacher said, "Why don't you give it to us?" Right? So sometimes this whole thing about who will be your beneficiary first, I think that's been a very, very challenging for us, right? So I'll leave it here. I think you have other round of questions.
Thank you. I think you can keep that. Few things. I think one is capex versus opex. We need to find a balance in reaching our goals. I think the second is you need a champion to drive it. You cannot necessarily say that all teachers you train will be adopters. You really need to identify who's the bright spark, who's that spark plug in the system. I think the expectation management, that when we go in, we need to set expectations with the stakeholders we are working with to ensure that it's not about taking infrastructure, but it's also about really building the culture in the classroom, and that's where we need to spend more time. Yeah, I think those are some of the key lessons from what Abhishek is saying. I think, from my own learning, I think I can say two things. One is really, the work that Quest Alliance has done in the last 12 years or so. We focused on really blended learning models for youth employability. And these are young people who are dropouts or in ITIs who come without much of confidence because they are part of a schooling system that has really inculcated fear in them. One of the things that we feel technology has done based on the evidence we have from our work is that it really reduces fear from students. The technology is not going to judge you. Right? It's not something that you can keep trying and keep learning at your own pace, at your own time. It really allows you that space to try new things or to try to learn something that you haven't understood. So I think that's one value add that technology has provided, and it really gives you the freedom to fail, right? So those are two things which I feel have really been the value add that technology has provided. This is not to take away the role of the facilitator, teacher from the classroom space. I don't know if there are more questions, reflections. So I have two gentlemen in the front. Can someone take the mic to them, or if you want to ask your question right away? Yeah, go ahead. We need some mics up front, but
hello. My name is Aviral Sana. I'm coming from Image Boosters. And our organization is basically, in fact, working with various engineering and MBA institutes for almost last 18 years. Now, I've been listening, in fact, to this. I've been moving around, in fact, the whole arena. I've been looking, in fact, that many people are doing a lot in the school education, right? To start with, I'm just summing up everything, in fact, the whole this 2-day thing. First of all, I must congratulate Mr. Amit Goel, right? That is the real thing, the real problem.
Your comment or question, please.
No, it's a question is coming up. It's very relevant, There are many people who are working on the school education. We are uplifting that. But the major problem that I'm seeing, right, when I'm moving to engineering colleges, the student in front of me, when we're training them for the interviews, they just end up saying, in fact, sir, I'm in a wrong line, right? Okay. So this is something which we should start, in fact, now at the school level itself, right? Sure. I've been to IITs, and the IIT, in fact, the fellow chemical engineer is sitting in front of me and says, sir, I just joined IIT because it was IIT. I want to go into IT.
So right. your point is career guidance?
No. That is one. Second thing, in fact, is what he said. I think that was undermined. That edr.org, right? edx.org. Something, in fact, which has to be propagated, in a much broader platform, right? And maybe, we can work on, at the school level and maybe initial at the first year of engineering and all. Because afterwards, a lot of problem is there. Many of the people who are coming to ITI for, in fact, the employability skills, I can always train them We can always train them. But if he is sitting in a wrong interview, he's
Yes.
sitting in a wrong profile, he's still, in fact, all the school education, all 12 years of education, everything, in fact, goes down the drain.
Sure.
Right.
So
this is
point,
something,
point taken that we need to work before in the school system to really guide, mentor young people so that they can choose the right paths.
Yes.
That you're, it's more a comment, I'm assuming it's not a question.
No,
Sorry,
no,
I'll
no,
have to stop you there and
No, no,
I'll
the,
go
no,
to
the question is coming, right?
Sorry.
Just
no,
one second,
we'll
sir.
have to take that offline. We need another opportunity for
fine.
someone to speak. So, gentleman there and Mary at the back.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
my name is Furkan. My question is, I'm an advocate of digital education. But from every panel member, don't you think if we focus more on the teachers, just like it's their kids whom they are teaching, if that inclination will ignite or we create among the teachers, then we'll have various, the aspects which is coming out, which is tremendous.
Sure. Thank you. Mary, the person at the back, yeah.
Hi. So I wanted to understand, in terms of all of your platforms, from the data that you're collecting, do you feel that it's highlighting the special education needs of students? And how is technology facilitating a more inclusive education and schooling environment?
Sure. One more question there on the lady up front. Sorry. Not there, sorry. Lady there in the red. Pink.
I'd just like to add a critical input about EdTech. So if you're looking at EdTech to build equity, one of the most important discussions that's not emerging today is the use of open source technologies. Mr. Goyal is part of a very large open source venture. The thing is that EdTech cannot be driven by proprietary means or by the proprietary industry. EdTech is, and if intended to benefit the society, must be driven by open source tools. There are a few people here who agree with me. And since yesterday, we are not seeing this kind of a clarity philosophically that there is a global movement called the Open Education Resource Movement. There are globally people saying that if you want high quality educational resources to be available to every young child, these must be driven by the community of open educators who are, for instance, the hardware that's called Raspberry Pi, the LMS that's driven by Moodle, where the source code of everything that you're doing, and I'm sorry, there are some people here who are coming from the proprietary industry, is open. So using and harnessing open source technologies has helped us in a tribal village set up an entirely open education model driven entirely by technology to answer some of the people's questions that how do you make it cost effective. EdTech is not costly. It is the proprietariness of it and it's the corporations that's making it costly. I mean, I can go on and on, but
Sure.
open source needs to be part of this discussion. I would have hoped to have heard some more about it. Thank you.
Sure. Amit, do you want to take that?
So you mentioned about open source technology. Yes, that is the way to go. I'll sync it with the accessibility question. We have about 22, 23 million learners on the platform from every country on the planet. We record their each and every keystroke, what they are doing. And we are mixing this big data with neuroscience to actually really pass the feedback to educators on how they can improve learning. A teacher teaches a class of 60 students. He really doesn't know whether a student is taking notes or playing tic-tac-toe. Using technology, teachers can actually get into the student's mind and enhance their teaching standards. About accessibility, the platform is a $40, $50 million platform. One of the most accessible platform. Students who have special learning requirements, dyslexia, visual impairment, speech impairment, any sort of an issue, they can go to the platform and take the courses. The platform is the most accessible platform of the world. Lastly, we have spent so much time, energy, resources on building this beautiful platform. We don't want to keep it to ourselves. We have opened all the courses absolutely free. Lastly, we have made the technology open source, which means you are the NGOs over here. If you have your own courses, you can create your own edX platform free of cost. The platform is called Open edX. There are 1,800 plus websites running on Open edX. Teach for India runs on Open edX. Various nations around the world, like government of China, Japan, Jordan, Korea, Israel, they use Open edX to create their own digital learning absolutely free. no royalty to edX, no source code is absolutely available free of cost. So that is how we are able to enhance it on a regular basis, not keeping anything proprietary to us.
Sure. You want to add a point?
So I think one of the challenges which I see some of these open courses is that they are not available in the vernacular languages. And most of our education in schools, in government school, happen in the local language. And that has been my biggest struggle. I think majority of our learning apps which we use are open source. And we have the best of them. I can name like 20 of them, starting from Khan to Meghshala and so many which we are using. And it's actually reduced the cost. But yeah, I agree to you that we should have something like India Stack, what we have for JAM, Jandan Nadar Mobility. I think we should have some, I think there's already work in progress on this where there is a collaboration happening. But I think more and more content has to come in the vernacular language because that has been my biggest struggle.
Yeah. I think just to add to what Amit and Abhishek said, I think so an organization like Convey Genius exists because we have been supported by a lot of CSRs. We see CSR capital as risk capital, which allows us to experiment. And since, open source behavior that we don't see in India yet. So I think, and to do cutting edge work in education through Edtech, it requires a lot of cost. So obviously, we are moving there. So the way we are building our solution, we would want it to become a public good one day. But to fund that cost initially, I'll also take an example. We are working in the difficult terrains of Leh-Ladakh and Kargil with 17,000 feet foundation. In those areas, you don't have internet, you don't have power, you don't even have a mobile network. So unless somebody comes and funds it, how would you make Edtech work there? So luckily we got the CSR funding from Axis Bank, and we have our solutions in 120 schools in Ladakh. So I think that's the way I see it. Till we reach there, even proprietary software should be allowed to innovate and grow.
Thank you. I think the larger point is well taken. I think the point is that if there are CSRs or others who are investing in creation of content, then we need to make sure that it is available for public good at the same, which means it is free, which is open. But at the same time, if there are operational costs to actually go to the last mile, that also needs to be factored in to our model and thinking it through. I think the larger point around teacher development, teacher education, I think our learning is that, if we start with the teachers and really build professional networks of teachers who are able to share, learn, and inspire each other, that is a great starting point, because I think that's where we are able to really inspire change from each teacher who can become storyteller of what they are doing, get recognized by their peers. So I am a big believer to the point that you made about let's start with the teachers as opposed to designing straight for the student, because it's going to be time before that culture that we shift. And I think the larger focus of how do we really promote lifelong learning and technology just being a means to that, where you really sort of promote the idea of learning to learn through the various platforms available, through your peer groups, community. I think that's really the opportunity that we really need to focus on, is really building that culture of learning to learn as opposed to just learning to teach. And that's where I'll end that, Edtech has a potential to do that, and let's try to solve for that. So thank you to everyone, and hope we can continue this conversation outside.